You may not realize it, but the way your mind spirals into endless loops of what-ifs is not a personal failure. It is a story written long ago, inside the neural architecture of your brain, shaped by moments when you didn't feel entirely safe in the world. Overthinking is not a flaw. It is a survival mechanism that learned to work overtime. Imagine your mind as a small room filled with soft light, and at the center of that room lives a tiny guardian, your amygdala, who has only one job: to keep you safe. But this guardian was trained during storms it couldn't fully understand, and now even gentle winds feel like danger. So when you lie awake at night, your thoughts pacing in circles, it is your guardian lighting small fires, hoping the flames will chase away unseen threats. Neuroscience tells us that when the amygdala becomes hyperactive, it keeps sending alarm signals to the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for calm reasoning and long-term planning. Instead of receiving spacious clarity, your prefrontal cortex is drenched in cortisol, the stress hormone, making focus feel like trying to read through fogged glass. The more your amygdala fires, the more your prefrontal cortex tightens, and the loop continues like two musicians both trying to lead the same song, causing the melody to tremble. You think you are overreacting, but your brain believes it is protecting you. Overthinking becomes its way of scanning the horizon, searching for patterns, predicting outcomes, trying to rehearse pain before it happens, so that maybe this time it won't hurt as much. But of course, rehearsing pain is still pain. And your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a memory, a thought, and a real threat. It reacts to all three with the same tension in your shoulders, the same flutter in your chest. There is a tenderness in knowing this. Nothing is wrong with you. Something within you simply learned vigilance too early. Overthinking is a story of the past, bleeding into the present, like ink seeping through thin paper. When you worry endlessly about a future conversation, or replay moments that have already passed, you are not choosing anxiety. Your brain is trying to finish old, unfinished business. It is trying to close loops that were once left open in childhood moments, when you didn't get the reassurance you needed, moments when your needs felt too heavy, moments when silence was mistaken for disappointment. Your brain remembers everything, even the things you tried to forget. So it keeps scanning, asking, is this safe? Will they leave? Did I do something wrong? Am I enough yet? And each question sends electricity rushing along neural highways so practiced they have become automatic, like water finding the deepest grooves carved through stone over years. This is why breaking the habit of overthinking feels impossible. Your brain isn't choosing the grooves. It is simply following the paths that were etched long before you had the power to reshape them. Yet even the deepest grooves can soften. Neuroplasticity, the brain's quiet, persistent ability to change, tells us that new pathways can form when safety is repeatedly experienced and gently embodied. Think of it like teaching your nervous system a new language, one where safety is not earned by anticipating every possible danger, but by learning to inhabit the present moment without bracing for impact. Still, this is not something the mind learns from reading. It learns from feeling. The body must be invited into the healing, because overthinking is not just mental noise. It is a full-body posture, a tightening around life itself. It is the way your jaw clenches before your thoughts even begin, the way your breath becomes shallow, as if you're preparing to hide underwater. Your nervous system has woven these reactions into a single tapestry, where thought and sensation blur together. And sometimes, before you can name your fear, your body has already curled around it. There is something profoundly human in this reflex. Overthinking is the brain's attempt to create certainty in a world that has often felt unpredictable. It is a coping strategy born from a nervous system that learned, at some point, that the world could shift too quickly, that the people you loved might not understand you, that your worth might depend on how perfectly you performed. Your mind believed that if it could think through every possibility, it could avoid being blindsided again. And so it became hypervigilant, not because you are weak, but because your brain is brilliant at adaptation. The problem is not that you overthink. The problem is that your mind is working alone, without the grounding presence of your body and breath, to remind it that the present moment is not the past. Sometimes healing begins not by silencing the mind, but by letting it know it no longer has to stand guard by itself. When you place a hand on your chest and breathe deeply, the vagus nerve sends signals upward, telling the brain it is safe to soften. And slowly, the prefrontal cortex comes back online, like a lighthouse flickering back to life after a storm. This is why, in moments of overwhelm, your thoughts seem to multiply. They are searching for a lighthouse that briefly went dim. But each gentle breath, each act of grounding, becomes a small light guiding them home. Imagine this. Every overthought is a child standing in the doorway of your mind, waiting to be acknowledged, not dismissed. These thoughts do not want to trap you. They want to be witnessed. And when you stop fighting them, something unexpected happens. They begin to quiet on their own. They dissolve like fog touched by morning sun. But to reach that quiet, you must first understand the deeper truth. Your mind is not malfunctioning. It is mourning something it never fully processed. It is replaying unfinished stories, hoping that this time, with your adult self present, the ending might change. And this is where your power begins, right at the edge of awareness, where you start to notice the subtle shifts in your body, the way certain thoughts carry the weight of old fears, the way your chest tightens when you anticipate rejection. These moments are not failures, they are invitations. Your overthinking is calling you toward yourself, asking you to listen not with judgment, but with curiosity. And when you do, when you pause long enough to sense the trembling beneath the thought, you begin to meet the version of you who once felt alone with emotions too big to hold. That younger self is still inside you, tugging gently at your sleeve every time you spiral, hoping you'll slow down, look back, and finally understand that what you call overthinking is actually a longing for safety, a longing for someone to sit beside the fear and say, "I'm here now." And as you start to meet this longing with compassion, something in your neural circuitry begins to shift, like a door unlatching in a quiet hallway, letting in a soft draft of fresh air. And the moment you sense this opening, your story begins to change. Because healing never starts with forcing silence. It starts with listening deeply enough that the mind no longer has to shout to be heard. And in this listening, something inside you begins to loosen, making space for the possibility that the cycle you've lived in for so long is not a life sentence, but a pattern that can be rewritten. Especially when you finally understand that the reason you can't stop overthinking is not because you are broken, but because you are trying to protect a part of yourself that still believes danger is near. And the moment you learn to sit with that part without rushing, without fixing your brain, begins to realize that the world is no longer the storm it once remembered it to be. And slowly, gently, it starts to trust the present moment enough to let go of its grip on every possible future, allowing the thoughts to soften, the body to breathe, and the mind to rest in the quiet truth that safety is something you can now create from within. Because healing is not an event, but a slow unwinding, a remembering of your own tenderness. And as your nervous system relearns this softness, you begin to sense a shift, subtle but real, like the first warm breeze of spring brushing against winter-tired skin, reminding you that change is possible, that calm is learnable, that overthinking is not your identity, but simply a habit your brain once needed and is now ready to release. As you begin to step into a new way of relating to yourself, where presence replaces vigilance and the future no longer feels like a threat, but a landscape you can walk through with steadier breath, steadier hands, and a steadier heart. Because now you finally understand that the patterns that once held you can also be unlearned. When you meet yourself with enough compassion to continue this journey into the quiet center of your mind, where healing waits softly, patiently, ready to expand the moment you allow yourself to breathe into the space you once feared, letting your body become the place where safety is relearned rather than chased through endless loops of thought. And as this safety settles into your nervous system, something remarkable happens. The amygdala, once hypervigilant, always on guard, begins to quiet like a child, finally soothed by the presence of someone who won't leave. The prefrontal cortex, no longer drenched in urgency, comes back online, offering you clearer vision, not because you force clarity, but because your mind is no longer drowning in alarms. This is the turning point where overthinking begins to lose its power, not through discipline, but through compassion. Healing was never meant to be a battle. It is a returning, a remembering, a soft exhale after years of holding your breath. And so you begin to notice the subtle shifts. The thoughts that once arrived like storms now come more slowly, gently, as if asking permission before entering. The catastrophizing loses its sharpness, its edges softened by the presence you offer yourself. The future, once a canvas of imagined danger, becomes simply a place you haven't walked yet. The past loosens its grip because you have finally turned toward the version of you who was carrying it alone. There is a moment, small, almost imperceptible, where you realize that your mind is no longer sprinting ahead of your life. It is sitting with you, beside you, learning that safety is not in predicting pain, but in trusting your capacity to meet whatever comes. And this trust does not arrive in grand revelations. It arrives in small moments. The breath you deepen instead of tightening, the pause you take before spiraling, the way your shoulders settle when you finally say to yourself, "I don't need to solve everything right now." Neuroscience calls this regulation. Healing calls it softness. Your inner world calls it home. Because as your nervous system relearns safety, neuroplasticity begins its quiet work, rewiring the grooves that once trapped you into pathways that free you. And every time you offer yourself compassion instead of criticism, you are strengthening new neural connections, ones built not from fear, but from gentleness. The mind listens. It always has. And now, with each compassionate repetition, it learns a new language. A language that sounds like, "I am safe enough in this moment." A language that feels like unclenching. You may think healing is supposed to feel like triumph, but often it feels like a softening, a melting of old armor you didn't realize had grown so heavy. And when that armor dissolves, your overthinking reveals its true form, not an enemy, but a messenger, a part of you that has been calling out, "Stay with me. Don't leave me alone with this fear." And when you stay, truly stay, that part begins to heal. The spirals slow because they no longer need to be loud to be heard. The worries shrink because they no longer need to protect a child who finally feels safer in your hands. This is the emotional release you've been moving toward, the realization that your mind was never trying to sabotage you. It was trying to keep you alive with the tools it had. And now, together, you are learning new ones. The cycle breaks, not with force, but with tenderness, not with control, but with connection. And eventually, a quiet spaciousness emerges, one that was always meant for you. A spaciousness where thoughts flow but do not drown you, where the future opens like a gentle horizon, not a battlefield, where the past becomes a story, not a threat. And for the first time in perhaps years, you feel your breath move freely through your body, without the weight of imagined catastrophes pressing against your ribs. This is the soft miracle of healing. The mind that once overthought to survive now learns to rest enough to live. And as you feel this rest settle into your bones, you begin to understand something essential. Your worth was never meant to hang on perfection, prediction, or performance. It lives in you simply because you are here, simply because you exist. Overthinking loses its power the moment you stop abandoning yourself in moments of fear. The moment you become the steady presence your younger self always needed. And when you do, the world softens, your inner landscape shifts, and you finally feel what safety tastes like. Not the brittle kind built from control, but the warm, steady kind built from compassion. And in that warmth, you discover that your mind is capable of peace, that your body knows how to relax into life again, and that the storms that once felt endless can pass, leaving behind a clearer sky, a clearer heart, and a quieter mind, one that no longer runs from itself but rests gently in the truth that you are safe now, you are growing, and you are learning to live beyond the walls your fear once built around you.